Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report's Class A Sectional 42 preview with Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood call leader Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network. And we were joined by Jay Stevens of the Kokomo Post and Sam Wart of WILL and Casper Media to break down the 5-team sectional. Before we get to our interviews and our championship predictions at the end of the podcast, just want to let you know what's going on at the Central Indiana Sports Report. We have IU, Purdue, Pacers, Colts, Fever, and IndyCar shows on a weekly basis, plus previews and reaction podcast. We also have our high school football previews and predictions podcast every Thursday. Only this week it's on Friday because of all the sectional previews. And Michelle and I will be back later on Friday evening into early Saturday morning with our high school football scoreboard show, where we talk about all the scores and highlights from around the state. We will also be previewing our local 5A and 6A sectionals next week. Hey, do us a huge favor and subscribe to the podcast, or like it. Give us a like if you like what you hear. That stuff really does help spread the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report, and we really appreciate you doing that for us. Again, before we get to our guests and to our predictions, let me go over the sectional 42 field real fast. Defending sectional champion Taylor won their first sectional title ever last week. They are at 5-3 this year and host 2-7 North White, who they beat 64-0 in week 1. So Taylor should advance out of that. And they will likely play conference rival Carroll of Flora, who opens their tournament play at 2-7 Winnemac. Taylor and Carroll will be huge favorites to come out of that one. And in the top, the huge favorites will be unbeaten Frontier and 8-1 Pioneer. Frontier goes to Tri-County. Pioneer goes to Caston for their quarterfinal games on Friday night. First, we hear from Kokomo Post sports editor Jay Stevens, who covers Howard County, and that includes Taylor, the defending sectional champions. Then from Sam Wart, and then Michelle and Grant and I will be back with our sectional predictions. We did like 11 of these sectional previews, so please forgive us if there are any editing issues. Thank you. We continue our coverage of sectional 42 in Class A with Jay Stevens of the Kokomo Post. He, of course, covers Howard County, and that means defending sectional champion Taylor. We didn't expect him to win it last year. I think going into this year, you'd probably say their chances were better than they were last year, and they came through it last year, so who knows? They haven't been playing very well of late, but do they get hot, Jay?
I think they can. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying it's possible. This team this year is continuing the success they had a year ago. Had some late season struggles, had a struggle early in week 3 against Carroll on the road. Had a home loss to Sheridan that I think Taylor believes they could play better than they did that day. And then last week's loss to Delphi is still a little baffling because there were some mistakes in that game that Taylor doesn't normally make. But like we mentioned earlier, in regards to Western and even Northwestern, Taylor got a favorable draw in this sectional going up against North White in the first round this week, where they beat North White in week 1 of the season 64-0. Now, I'm not going to say that they're going to shut them out again or even score 60-plus points, but I think Taylor has more than enough players and can be very electric on the field to beat North White once.
Let's just say it's going to be Carroll and Taylor in week 2. Yeah. Everybody knows it. Let's not beat around the bush.
It'll probably be Carroll and Taylor, and the game will be at Carroll, which means it's going to be on grass and not on turf, and whether Carroll decides how short they decide to mow their field. And I know people laugh, but I know when Tipton used to have some really fast teams, they would go to play football on a Friday night, and you could tell people didn't mow the field that week because they wanted the long grass. They wanted to slow down the Blue Devils, especially you got late in the year when it kind of gets dewy at the as the evening wears on.
And I don't think. Hold on, I don't think tall grass is going to stop Javion Harris.
It doesn't stop him; it slows them down.
All right. Good luck.
No, she's correct. I will say there are 2 schools in the county that have grass fields. I'm not going to say which one I was at recently, but there was one year I was at a field that had a grass field, and there was somebody that made a comment about, and they were wondering if the school cut the grass because the grass is so high.
I know they do it. I'm just saying it doesn't do any good. That's all I'm saying.
You were right about favorable draw because it should be Frontier and Pioneer in the upper half. And that should be a knockdown drag out. And whoever comes out of that could be possibly ripe for an upset, either by Carroll or Taylor, whoever comes out of the bottom half of that bracket.
If you look at the top half of the bracket and you see Frontier and Pioneer, you would almost assume the natural person would say the winner of that game is going to sectional. But that would end up being game number 12, which is a sectional championship. And once you get later in the year, sometimes the length of the season and the mentality of the player, you might get a little mentally weak or you might get a big head. And
those teams don't play the schedule that either Carroll or Taylor play.
Pioneers isn't
anywhere near the schedule, and I think Carroll's the favorite to win the sectional. Taylor's second, in my mind.
I'm right there with you. I think Taylor could potentially do some different things offensively, like they did last year in sectional, which led them to winning their first sectional title in school history. You could do some different things against North White and still win the game and experiment a little bit, which this allows them to do. We know what they can do when Javion Harris is running the show. But this could be a week where a wrinkle or two is thrown in there that Carroll might not be ready for the following week.
One of the few sectionals you look at the draw and it almost looks like it's seeded.
You probably have. If they seeded this, they might have had Frontier and Pioneer in opposite brackets, but it's pretty close to it. I think they would have.
Pretty close.
And you're talking about but we can't forget that Pioneer's got a lot of football tradition on their side. And I know they had, some down years a little bit since Kaiser, but they've also been pretty strong. And it'll be interesting because here's the thing. If it would be Frontier that comes out of that, the championship game would be at Frontier because they're on the road the first week. They would be on the road to Pioneer the second week because Pioneer's the bottom team in that bracket. Taylor hosts the first week, so they've had a home game. So they're the only way they're going to get the sectional championship at home is if the top half of the bracket has also played at home, as at home. So,
we know who the final 4 are going to be. So it's pretty easy to figure.
I know Frontier's got a better record, but I think I would favor Pioneer in that matchup.
Me too.
I'm with you guys.
Yeah. Pioneer might play the schedule that Carroll and Taylor do, but Frontier is unbeaten, and they definitely do not.
No.
And every year it seems like they have a good record, and then they lose 49-21 in the first round of the sectional to Carroll. This is what happened last year.
Since the Vince Burpo era. Vince Burpo was pretty good at Frontier.
It's a good team, clearly. They're 9-0, right, Jay? But we're just saying they're not a scary 9-0 like a New Pal or
or even like they were 20, 30 years ago when they were 9-0.
I got a question for you guys since you brought up New Pal. I know this isn't a Class A thing, but do you think New Pal could compete for the 6A title this year?
Yes.
Yes. I don't think they'd beat Brownsburg or Carmel or Center Grove probably, but I wouldn't count them out of it. Sure. I would definitely give them a chance to win any of those games.
This team loaded with talent.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to see New Pal Brownsburg, Jay?
Oh my gosh. I'd try to be there. If I could make it happen, I would want to be there for that one. Make it happen. Find a place to play the game. I would try to be there to watch the game. I used to watch Brownsburg play a lot when I lived out in Indianapolis. Used to live 15 minutes from the school. And so I love the school, love them. But all of a sudden I move away and start covering sports in Kokomo, and they decided to go to the state championship.
That's
and I'm
right.
like, wow.
They decided to get good at football all of a sudden.
Yeah, Browns. I mean, that's good.
All right, but let's talk about this sectional. Sectional 42. I believe that it's going to be Carroll coming out of this. I think it's going to be Carroll and Pioneer.
I think it will probably be Pioneer and Carroll too. But I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with Pioneer. I think they were disappointed in themselves last year, and I think Pioneer gets back onto adds another year to their sectional championship banner.
I'll say this, Jay. There's not going to be a better player than Javion Harris. We know that. So it definitely gives Taylor a chance. Do you give him a chance to win this?
I give them a chance, yes. I do give them a chance because I know whatever Rob Patchett does with these young kids, he finds a way to get them to believe and do things that people don't believe they can do. And I was one of them last year. I didn't think they would get past
Me too.
whoever they played in the sectional semifinal. And then all of a sudden, they go on and win the sectional. And I see Rob Patchett in regional before they played North Judson. And he kind of laughed at me, looked like we both knew what was going on. But I was like, yeah, man, I was wrong. You guys pulled off the unthinkable because I didn't think it was possible.
Hey,
and the way they did it last year in the postseason, just thrashing everyone in the sectional, has to give them confidence.
It does. It does. I predict them to blow out North White pretty easily. I think they can beat Carroll, but if I had to pick the game now, I would pick Carroll to beat Taylor again. It's just hard to beat a team twice in one season.
Well,
but I would give the nod to Carroll and then probably pick, this is a tough one. I'll go with Frontier. I know that their competition has been a little bit weaker, but they found ways to win each week. So I'll give Frontier the nod here. Sorry, Pioneer fans.
Jay, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it as always.
No problem, guys. I really enjoyed it.
We continue our preview of Class A Sectional 42. I'm joined by Sam Wart of Casper Media and WILL to talk about the Carroll Cougars, who are one of the favorites going into this postseason. Sam, the Cougars 5-3 doesn't really say that they've had a good season, but of late they've been really good. A sweep of Clinton Prairie and Clinton Central, and then a 20-7 loss at Sheridan that they have to feel pretty good. But they have to feel pretty good going into the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're pretty happy with the draw that they got, drawing Winnemac in the first round. This has been an interesting season for Blake Betzner. He's used to so much success the last couple of years, undefeated in the regular season. But I was looking back, and the 7 points that they scored against Sheridan, that was the lowest output they've had since 2020 in a regular season game. So that was pretty surprising. But they're a team that they can run the football really well. And Sheridan was able to kind of shut that down. But that's got to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And they want to get back to that and running the football. And I think they're going to be able to do it against Winnemac. But this bracket, I think, kind of favors Carroll a little bit because they avoid the teams they played last year, Frontier and Pioneer. And, of course, Pioneer, the team that knocked them out of the tournament last year. And if they can get past Winnemac, it sets up a rematch with Taylor in a game that they won early in the season, 48-21. I think they kind of understand how to slow down that Taylor offense and Javion Harris. And if they can do that, sets them up for a sectional championship game against probably Pioneer or Frontier. Those two teams are having a great season as well. But I think Carroll really likes this draw. And I think that bad taste in their mouth after the Sheridan game has kind of fueled them throughout this sectional.
This is a team that does not lose sectional games under Blake Betzner. They have to still be pretty upset about that one.
Yeah, I talked with Blake Betzner in the summer, just talking about that game, and he said, man, that was the game that left a terrible taste in his mouth. It was probably the worst feeling as a head coach after that game, but it taught them a lot, and they've kind of been using that as bulletin board material throughout this season, and we don't want to feel like we felt after that Pioneer game anymore. And I think they're definitely using that this season, and they brought a lot of guys back, but they're also really young on the defensive end. A lot of guys back on offense. Aiden Wiles, Emery Deaton. Those are two of the best runners you're going to see in Class 1A. So I think if those two guys can get going, they're going to have a lot of success.
So do you feel like Carroll's going to win this?
I think they have a really good shot. I think it comes down to those 4 teams: Carroll, Taylor, Frontier, and Pioneer. Carroll's already played Taylor on the season. It beat them 48-21. That was a really good game. If they can get by Taylor, anything can happen in a sectional championship game. And if they get Pioneer, I know they're going to want to get revenge for last year's loss.
I guarantee they want another shot. Thank you so much for your time, Sam. Appreciate it, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
We heard from Sam Wart and Jay Stevens as we continue our preview of Class A Sectional 42. We heard Jay's opinion of who's going to win this. Michelle, your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a great semifinal match between Pioneer and Frontier. But I pick Pioneer, and I think Pioneer will beat Carroll in the championship.
One of the more intriguing sectionals, of course, in Class 1A. Give me Carroll of Flora come out and win that sectional over a really solid Pioneer team.
Same for me, Grant. That's my exact pick. I think Carroll's going to win this over Taylor in the semifinal. Pioneer over Frontier, and give me the Carroll Cougars to win it again. Thanks so much, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much to Michelle and Grant for doing all of these podcasts with me, and to Sam Wart and Jay Stevens for joining us. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with a high school football fan in your life, and help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.